So what if I told you that the most accurate, like cutting-edge diagnostic manual for your nervous system wasn't actually published in a modern medical journal,
Right.
but, it was written thousands of years ago in ancient Sanskrit?
Yeah, it's wild to think about.
It really is. I mean, today we are looking at a text that basically completely shatters our understanding of modern psychology. And the crazy part is it's just been hiding in plain sight as this mystical poem.
It really challenges that natural assumption we make, that ancient people were somehow less psychologically sophisticated than we are today.
Right, like they didn't know what they were doing.
Exactly. But when you actually strip away the translation issues and all that cultural distance, you find that they were mapping the exact same neurobiology that we are currently studying in modern labs.
Okay, let's unpack this because the source material we have today is just so fascinating. It's this contemporary reflection piece, and it's dated literally today, August 21st, 2026.
Hot off the presses.
Right. And the author is taking just 2 verses from the Bhagavad Gita, specifically chapter 7, verses 11 and 12, and they're running them through the lens of modern organizational psychology, leadership ethics, and cognitive science. And I think the mission for this deep dive is to really figure out how to actually use these ancient concepts as practical tools in our daily lives.
Which, I mean, that is the only real reason to study a text like this. The value isn't in putting it behind museum glass and just admiring its historical age. The value is figuring out if it can help you lead a team better or, manage your own anxiety.
Right, or figure out why you can't stop doom scrolling at midnight.
Exactly. We've all been there.
We really have. So it dives right into the deep end by completely attacking our conventional idea of what it means to be powerful.
It really does go right for the jugular on that.
Yeah. It starts by looking at how we exert our will in the world, our strength. Let me just pull up the translation provided in the source for the first half of verse 11.
Take your time.
Okay, here. It states, "I am the strength of the strong."
Oh.
And the author notes that's balam salavatam in Sanskrit.
Right.
But then it gives this massive condition for what constitutes actual strength. It has to be, quoting here, devoid of selfish passion and compulsive attachment. Let's see if I have this pronunciation right. Kamaraga vivarjitam.
You got it perfectly.
Oh, sweet.
And those 2 qualifiers, kama and raga, which translate roughly to that selfish passion and compulsive attachment, they are the entire hinge of this philosophy.
So the modern take in our source links this directly to the concept of servant leadership and organizational psychology.
Right.
Like, it argues that true strength has absolutely zero overlap with domineering control, coercive force, or, that kind of chest-thumping narcissistic posturing we so often associate with powerful CEOs or leaders.
What's fascinating here is how this maps to structural engineering in a way.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, our modern corporate culture often envisions strength as rigidity.
Right, yeah.
We think of the powerful leader as this massive, solid, concrete pillar, just unmoving, rigid, demanding that everything else route around it.
Oh, I totally see that. It's like the person who never compromises and never admits fault because, that would look weak. Like they have to be this flashy glass tower. It looks imposing and shiny and strong, but if you put it under real stress, it's completely brittle, right? It just shatters.
Exactly. Structurally speaking, a rigid concrete pillar or a glass tower is incredibly brittle. If a sudden localized stress hits it, like an earthquake, or in business terms, a massive market disruption, that pillar snaps.
Because it can't bend.
Right. It fractures because it has zero capacity to absorb and distribute the shock.
It's all just pure compressive strength, but there's no tensile strength at all.
Precisely. So servant leadership, which is what this ancient text is describing as true strength,
Yeah.
it operates more like a deep-rooted tree, like you're getting at, or a modern suspension bridge.
Right.
A suspension bridge looks lighter, it moves, it actually sways in the wind, but because its tension is distributed across a massive network of cables, which represents the entire team or community, it can absorb catastrophic amounts of stress without breaking.
Wow, that's a great image.
It is flexible, grounded resilience. It exists entirely to safely carry the weight of others across a gap.
Okay, but I'm struggling with this a little bit, though.
Sure.
Like, if we look at the real world, if a leader or a CEO isn't deeply, almost obsessively attached to their company's success, won't they just get crushed by the competition? Like the verse says, strength must be devoid of compulsive attachment. But doesn't a leader need to be desperately attached to winning to actually win?
See, that is the ultimate illusion of ego-driven leadership.
Really?
Yeah, we confuse compulsive attachment with actual capacity. When you are compulsively attached to an outcome, your foundation isn't in the work itself. Your foundation is in your own insecurity.
Because your identity is just completely wrapped up in whether you win or lose.
Yes. And cognitively, that is an incredibly expensive state to maintain.
Expensive how? Like energy-wise?
Exactly. Think
Nah.
about it mechanically. If a leader is terrified of looking foolish, every time an employee questions a decision, that leader has to burn massive amounts of cognitive and emotional energy defending their ego.
Oh, man. So true.
They react with anger, they micromanage, they suppress dissenting opinions. They are acting from a place of reactivity, not capacity.
So they're basically spending all their battery power just maintaining the hologram of being the boss instead of actually, solving the problem at hand.
That's a great way to put it. The compulsive attachment actually weakens them.
Wow.
By stripping away that ego attachment, by embodying this concept of kamaraga vivaritam, the leader reclaims all that wasted energy. They are no longer defending a fragile identity.
Which means they can hear harsh criticism without spiraling.
Yes. They can adapt to a failed product launch without having a total identity crisis, and they can elevate the people around them because they aren't threatened by someone else's brilliance.
It's basically strength derived from not needing to prove you are strong.
Exactly.
Which means this doesn't just apply to running a Fortune 500 company, right? Like, if you are a parent dealing with a toddler throwing a tantrum in a grocery store.
Oh, the classic scenario.
Right. If you are compulsively attached to looking like the perfect parent to all the strangers judging you in aisle 4, you are going to react with stress and anger.
Yep.
But if you drop the ego attachment, you actually have the grounded capacity to just help your kid calm down.
It fundamentally changes the metric of what it means to be a stabilizing force in any room.
That's so powerful. But that creates a really interesting paradox, which our source material actually tackles next.
Right.
Because if true strength requires us to shed all this selfish passion and attachment, I feel like the immediate assumption is that we should just stop wanting things entirely. Like, do we just become passive robots?
And that is exactly the trap that a lot of ascetic philosophies fall into. They look at the suffering caused by toxic desire and conclude that the only solution is to just amputate desire completely.
Which honestly sounds miserable. Like, what's the point of living? But the text doesn't say that right. The second half of verse 11 actually rescues the concept of wanting things.
It does.
Let me read it. And in all living beings, I am the desire, and the word there is kama, that is not contrary to righteousness and universal harmony. And the Sanskrit term for that harmony is dharma virutta.
Dharmic desire. It is such a life-affirming correction to the idea that you shouldn't want anything.
Yeah, our source material is very explicit about this. Like, it lists these incredibly human drives. The drive to learn, the drive to invent a new technology, to create beautiful art, to nurture your children, to fight for social justice. The commentary insists that these aren't spiritual flaws or some kind of failure to be detached. They are the engine of life itself. They are direct manifestations of a cosmic creative energy. But wait, isn't the whole point of ancient ascetic wisdom to achieve zero desires? Like, how do we actually tell the difference in the moment? Because from the inside, my desire to get a promotion feels just as intense as my desire to create art.
Sure.
So if I want a bigger paycheck, is that a manifestation of cosmic creative energy, or am I just being greedy? How do we distinguish between a cosmic creative desire and just regular old selfishness?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the source material provides a brilliant, ruthlessly pragmatic diagnostic tool for this.
Okay.
It's what the commentary calls the test of dharmic desire.
The test of dharmic desire.
Yeah, it pulls the entire conversation away from abstract morality, like asking, is this a good or bad thing to want, and turns it into a highly functional question about mechanics.
Okay, what is the test? I need to know this.
The question you have to ask yourself is this: does this desire expand well-being and clarity for myself and others, or is it an addictive, compulsive craving that fragments peace?
Wow. Does it expand well-being and clarity, or is it an addictive craving that fragments peace? That is remarkably tangible.
Isn't it? Applying this single diagnostic question completely reorganizes how we evaluate our goals.
Yeah, totally.
Let's take your example of wanting a promotion. The external goal is morally neutral. It's just a job title. But what is the internal engine driving it?
Right. If I want the promotion because, it gives me the resources to provide security for my family, or because it gives me a platform to mentor younger employees and fix a broken team culture, then achieving that goal expands well-being.
Exactly.
It brings clarity. So that is a dharmic desire.
But on the flip side, if you want that exact same promotion simply because you are terrified of falling behind your peers,
Oh,
or
yeah.
because you desperately need the status to feel worthy, or because you want to actively crush a rival coworker, what happens biologically?
You're consumed by anxieties. You
Yeah.
can't sleep. You become super paranoid about office politics.
It fragments your peace, the craving becomes addictive,
Mhm.
you get the promotion, and the satisfaction lasts for about 24 hours before you are instantly terrified about losing it or obsessed with getting the next one.
It's a treadmill.
Right. The desire isn't expanding your capacity, it's cannibalizing your nervous system.
It's the difference between eating a nutritious meal because you are hungry versus binge eating sugar because you are stressed. Like, the action looks similar from a distance, consuming food, but the mechanical effect on your system is totally different.
That's a perfect analogy. And that biological reality, the fact that toxic desires actually fragment our peace on a physical level, is the perfect bridge to what I consider the most mind-bending part of this entire analysis.
Yes, because these feelings of expansion or fragmentation, they aren't just philosophical concepts. They are physical, neurochemical events happening inside our bodies.
Exactly.
And this brings us to verse 12. Here's where it gets really interesting. The ancient text starts talking about the underlying fabric of our reality, dividing all states of being into three categories.
The three gunas.
Right. It says there's a state of harmony and clarity, which he calls sattvika. There's a state of passion and turbulence called rajasa. And there is a state of inertia and darkness called tamasa.
Sattva, rajas, and tamas.
And the source material argues that these aren't just ancient metaphysical categories. It maps them flawlessly onto modern neurocognitive biology.
It really does.
Like, it treats the gunas as a literal map of the human nervous system.
Let's break down the mechanics of this, because understanding the how here is life-changing.
Please do.
Let's start with sattva.
Okay, the text calls sattva the state of harmony and clarity. So in modern biological terms, our source maps this to the parasympathetic nervous system.
Specifically, parasympathetic balance. For the listener who might not be deep into neurobiology, your autonomic nervous system has different modes. The parasympathetic mode is often called rest and digest, but when it is highly regulated and balanced, it is actually the biological state of flow.
So what is physically happening in the body during sattva? Like under the hood?
Well, your vagus nerve is engaged, your heart rate variability is optimal, and because your body isn't detecting a threat, your amygdala, which is the fear center of the brain, quiets down.
Right.
And when the fear center quiets down, your prefrontal cortex fully comes online. This is the part of the brain responsible for deep problem solving, empathy, long-term planning, and emotional regulation.
Oh, wow. So in a sattvic state, you are physically capable of having those dharmic desires we just talked about, because you actually have the cognitive bandwidth to care about universal harmony. You aren't just trying to survive.
Precisely. You are calm, focused, and deeply connected to the present moment.
Okay, so then we look at the second state, rajas. The ancient text calls this passion and turbulence, and the modern commentary maps rajas to hyperarousal and stress. It's the sympathetic nervous system kicking into overdrive.
Right. This is the realm of the HTA axis, the hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenal glands.
The fight or flight stuff.
Exactly. When you are in rajas, your brain has detected a challenge or a threat. It dumps cortisol and adrenaline into your bloodstream, your heart rate spikes, your blood pressure goes up. Blood actually routes away from your digestive organs and into your major muscle groups.
Because your body thinks you need to either fight a tiger or run away from one.
Yes. And crucially, your brain is flooded with dopamine.
Wait, dopamine?
Yeah. Now, we often think of dopamine as the reward chemical, but neurobiologists know it's actually the seeking chemical.
Oh, interesting.
It drives restless ambition, craving, and intense striving. It makes you feel like you must do something right now.
So this explains why, when I have a massive deadline looming at work, I can't just sit still. Like, I'm multitasking frantically. Maybe I'm snapping at my family. My mind is just racing. I am entirely in a rajasic state.
You are.
The turbulence isn't a personality flaw. It's literally cortisol and adrenaline running the show.
Exactly. It's highly energetic, but it is deeply agitated. You are highly reactive.
Which leads us to the third state, tamas. The text calls it inertia and darkness. And the biological mapping here is fascinating because it's not just being tired, right? The source maps tamas to dorsal vagal shutdown.
Right. This is the collapse of the nervous system.
Collapse.
Yeah. When the body has been stuck in that highly agitated, high cortisol rejasic state for too long, it realizes it cannot sustain the energy expenditure. The system is burning out. So as a defense mechanism, it slams on the emergency brake.
Oh, the freeze response.
Yes. Biologically, your heart rate drops, your breathing becomes shallow, and you experience an influx of endogenous opioids, basically your body's natural painkillers,
Wow.
which create a sense of numbness and dissociation.
The source material explicitly calls this out as the biology behind brain fog, lethargy, avoidance, depression, and doom scrolling.
Doom scrolling is the perfect modern example of tamas.
Yeah, I've been there. You're sitting on the couch, staring at a screen for 3 hours, feeling completely numb and immobilized. You want to stop, but you physically feel like you can't initiate the movement to put the phone down.
Because your nervous system is in an evolutionary shutdown mode.
When I was reading this mapping, I couldn't help but picture the human nervous system as a car with a manual transmission.
Oh, I like that. Let's follow that logic. How do the gears map out?
Okay, so sattva is like cruising down the highway in 4th gear. You are in a state of flow.
Right.
The engine is humming. Fuel efficiency is perfect. You're completely responsive to the road, and the ride is just smooth. It's optimal performance.
Sustained, regulated momentum.
Exactly. Then you have rajas. Rajas is like suddenly downshifting into 1st gear while you are doing 60 miles an hour.
Yikes.
Right. You slam on the accelerator, the engine is redlining, the RPMs are screaming, you are burning massive amounts of fuel, the whole car is shaking violently, you are generating a ton of energy, but you are effectively destroying the transmission in the process.
Overworking the system to the point of mechanical degradation.
Yeah. And then, inevitably, you blow the engine, which is tamas. The car is stalled on the side of the road, the battery is dead, you are just sitting in the dark.
The brilliance of that analogy and the brilliance of verse 12 is what it implies about morality.
How so?
Well, a stalled engine isn't evil.
Right.
A redlining engine isn't sinful. They are just mechanical states of a system responding to input.
Which is exactly what the text says. Like, it says that all these states emanate from the divine. Or, stripped of the theology, they are natural, built-in features of human biology. They are not bugs.
Exactly. And this is a radical departure from how we usually treat ourselves.
Tell me about it.
When we spend an entire Sunday immobilized on the couch, we usually attack ourselves with shame. We say, I am incredibly lazy, I'm worthless, I'm wasting my life.
Yep, the guilt trip.
But the text is saying, no, you just spent 5 days redlining in a high cortisol rejasic environment at your corporate job, and your biology forced a tamasic shutdown to prevent you from having a heart attack.
It's a biological imperative. You just can't outthink a survival reflex.
Right. These states are going to happen. They are weather patterns in the biology of the human animal,
Yeah.
and you cannot stop the weather.
But wait, if we can't stop the weather, like if these biological gears are completely natural and unavoidable, how do we stop the negative ones from ruining our lives?
Well,
Because a tamasic shutdown might be natural, but if I stay in it, I lose my job. If I stay in a rejasic panic, I destroy my relationships. So if the biology is hardwired, what is the escape hatch?
this is the climax of the text. It offers a very specific psychological tool to deal with these unavoidable biological storms. It's the second half of verse 12.
Right. Speaking of these 3 states, the verse concludes with this line, yet I am not subject to them, which is not TV aham tesu. Rather, they exist within me, timeye.
I am not subject to them. They exist within me.
And the modern commentary synthesizes this into a single profound rule.
Yeah.
You are the sky, not the weather.
It is the ultimate cognitive reframe.
The source explains that our deepest psychological trap is identifying with our transient biological states.
Right.
We take a temporary chemical dump of cortisol or an evolutionary freeze response, and we fuse it with our core identity. We say, I am an anxious person, or I am lazy.
You are taking a temporary neurocognitive weather pattern and claiming it as your permanent self.
But the text insists that pure awareness, the true self, is the sky. The sky holds the thunderstorm. The sky contains the hurricane. But the sky itself is never stained, damaged, or diminished by the weather.
This raises an important question, though, because application is everything.
Right.
It is very easy to read a poem about being the sky when you are sitting in a quiet room, sipping tea, already comfortably resting in a sattvic state.
Exactly. It's easy to say, I'm just the sky, when you're sitting on a meditation cushion in sattva. But when you are trapped in a rajasic state, like dopamine and cortisol pumping, intensely stressed about a work deadline, it feels like that is entirely who you are. So how does this text suggest we actually separate the observer from the biology in real time?
Let's imagine a scenario. Imagine it's 9 p.m. on a Friday. You are finally relaxing with your family, and you make the mistake of checking your phone.
Oh, no.
You see an email from your boss, and it is aggressive. It implies you made a catastrophic error on a major project.
My heart rate is spiking just imagining that scenario.
Exactly. Within milliseconds, your amygdala fires. Cortisol and adrenaline flood your system. Your breathing gets shallow. You're instantly hijacked by a massive Rajasic storm.
Yeah, there's no stopping it.
And in that moment, the panic doesn't feel like weather. It feels like absolute, undeniable reality. You are fully fused with the state. So how do we engage the clutch?
Yes. In our car analogy, if you are redlining in first gear, you can't just slam the gear shift into neutral. You'll break the car.
Yeah.
You have to step on the clutch to disengage the engine from the wheels. What is the psychological clutch?
The mechanism to achieve this, clinically speaking, is the practice of labeling. Let's look at the phrasing again. They exist within me. I'm not subject to them. To operationalize this, you have to change the grammar of your internal monologue.
What do you mean? Change the grammar.
Well, when you get that Friday night email, the untrained mind says, I am terrified, I am going to be fired, I am failure. You're using the words I am. You are identifying as the storm.
The sky thinks it's the hurricane.
Yes. But to step on the clutch, you simply label the biological state with precision and distance. You literally say to yourself, I am experiencing a massive spike of cortisol right now. My biology is generating a Rajasic response. My heart is racing.
Oh, wow. You just narrate the physical reality.
Exactly. And this isn't just a semantic trick. It is neurobiologically functional. In modern neuroscience, this is called affect labeling.
Affect labeling.
All right. When you force your brain to find specific words to describe an emotional or physical state, you are forcing blood flow back into the prefrontal cortex, which is the logical Sattvic part of your brain.
Oh, wow.
Yes, because the prefrontal cortex is the only part of the brain that can construct language. And there is a neurological seesaw between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala.
Wait, really? A seesaw?
Yeah, when you activate the language center to label the state, it physically inhibits the fear center. The cortisol dump begins to slow down.
So by simply shifting from I am angry to I am experiencing anger, you are literally hitting the biological brake pedal.
You are creating distance. You become the unshakable observer. You are watching your nervous system react without being controlled by it.
That is incredible.
You acknowledge the weather, but you remember you are the sky. And once you do that, you have choices. You can say, okay, my biology is redlining right now. I am not going to reply to this email tonight. I am going to go for a walk, let the adrenaline burn off, and respond tomorrow when my system returns to sattva.
Because if you don't label it, you just keep stepping on the gas, you fire back an angry defensive email at 9:45 p.m., and you potentially ruin your career.
Exactly. The labeling is the clutch that allows you to shift gears.
So what does this all mean? Like if we pull all of these disparate threads together, from ancient poetry to modern neurobiology, what have we actually built here today?
I think we've built a completely secular, highly actionable diagnostic toolkit for navigating the human experience.
We started by tearing down the rigid concrete pillar of ego-driven leadership.
Yeah.
We redefined true strength as the flexible suspension bridge of servant leadership.
Yep.
We learned that letting go of our compulsive need to be right actually frees up the cognitive bandwidth to be effective.
We rescued desire from the ascetic trap, too.
Oh, right, the dharmic desire.
Yes. We established that wanting things, wanting to build, heal, and grow is the engine of life, provided it passes the dharmic test. Does this pursuit expand well-being for the whole, or is it an addictive craving that fragments my peace?
And then we mapped the ancient code of the three gunas onto our actual biology. We translated sattva into the clarity of the parasympathetic flow state. We translated rajas into the high cortisol, sympathetic panic of fight or flight. And we translated tamas into the dorsal vagal shutdown, the freeze response that leaves us doom scrolling on the couch.
And most importantly, we learned the mechanism of the clutch, the effect labeling that allows us to be the sky, not the weather, observing our biology without becoming a hostage to it.
You can literally take this ancient Sanskrit framework into your next one-on-one with your manager, or into an argument with your spouse, or into your own head when you wake up at 3 a.m. full of anxiety. It is literally a live-action manual for your mind.
It really is. And as we close, there is one final implication of this text that I think stretches beyond just self-management.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
Well, throughout this entire deep dive, we've talked exclusively about applying the sky and the weather inward,
Right.
how we manage our own ego, our own toxic desires, our own biological gunas. We've been using it to give ourselves grace. But imagine the paradigm shift if you applied this exact same framework to other people.
Oh, wow. Turning the lens outward.
Yeah, if we realize that we are not our own tamasic or rajasic states, if we know that we are the unshakable sky just temporarily trapped in a neurochemical storm, it absolutely demands that we recognize the same truth in the people around us.
Right.
Our colleagues, our partners, the people who infuriate us in traffic, they aren't their weather either.
That is a staggering shift in perspective.
Instead of looking across the office and seeing a toxic, aggressive coworker who is fundamentally broken as a human being, what if you simply recognize someone whose nervous system is currently hijacked by a massive rajasic storm?
Yeah.
They aren't evil. Their engine is just redlining, and they don't have the psychological clutch to downshift.
And instead of seeing your teenager as, lazy and apathetic, you recognize a nervous system that has crashed into a tamasic freeze response because the modern world is overwhelming.
Exactly. How profoundly does that shift your capacity for empathy? When you can look through the storm and see the clear sky behind someone else's weather, it changes every interaction. You stop reacting to their storm, which only feeds it, and you start interacting with the sky. And honestly, isn't that the ultimate practical realization of the servant leadership we talked about at the very beginning of this deep dive?
Wow. Yeah. Using your grounded resilience to help others find their way back to clarity.
True strength, devoid of selfish passion. It's not just about managing yourself, it's about becoming a shelter in the storm for everyone else. And I think that is a thought worth taking into whatever part of your day comes next.